And at this point, I barely knew Jace.
That is Mikayla Matthews, 23 years old in 2026, on Hulu, in a confessional booth, describing the first time she had sex. She was 16. The boy was 21. She was pregnant within a month. They got married. They had 4 children. They are now, at her age 23, getting divorced. The show calls this young love that worked. I am going to call it the...
So that's when I think like a lot of this stuff happened, or like we would come over to ride his 4-wheelers and he'd be like, oh, if you want to ride the 4-wheeler, you have to like do this first for me or something. And so like she never saw any of
Jace Terry, 21 when Mikayla met him. She was 16, in Utah, Mormon raised. Her mother was a church leader. Her mother, per Mikayla's own accounting, knew Jace was 21 and did not intervene. The story the show tells about that meeting is that Mikayla and Jace were in love. The story the adults around them tell on camera is some version of God brought them together. The story the audience is asked to accept is that somehow the 21-year-old on the one hand and the 16-year-old on the other met in a morally neutral field.
And then also you have the hormones of being pregnant and...
Yeah.
1 month later, she was pregnant. Beckham, her first, now 8 years old, who appears on Hulu, who will one day read or be read every word of his parents' courtship history as documented by TLC-adjacent reality TV reportage, by Reddit, by his own parents' podcasts, by Reality T, by People, by TMZ, by his cousins. The age gap is in the record. The timeline is in the record. The calendar is in the...
But also at that time, I was like, I was being sexually abused and I was confused.
Season 2. Mikayla, on camera, discloses that she was sexually abused by 3 different people between the ages of 6 and 15. She does not name them. She does not describe the incidents. She says 3. She says, when pressed by co-stars, that she told her siblings at 15 but could not tell her parents. That disclosure landed on Hulu in Season 2 as the most widely circulated clip of the season. That clip is now, per the franchise's own Reels account, the single most played Mikayla moment on social media.
Yeah.
My mom was there too.
I'm
I'm like, clearly I wasn't comfortable with my mom.
Our mother, a Mormon church leader, Mormonism's institutional response to a teenage daughter's disclosure of childhood sexual abuse is Bishop's interview. A conversation with a lay clergyman, privately, usually male, who has received no trauma-informed training. The LDS Church in Utah has for decades been named in legal actions concerning this exact procedure. Mikayla's mother did not, by Mikayla's own account, route her daughter to a bishop. Mikayla's mother did what a lot of Mormon mothers do. Mikayla's mother changed the subject.
I think she got married without telling us, because I remember her coming to tell my sister and I that she was going to get married to him, and I think
By 17, she was married to Jace in a Utah ceremony, pregnant probably with her second. The timeline is tight but not implausible. The marriage was described by her family and by Jace's as saving her from the shame of teenage pregnancy, which is an inversion of the math. The marriage did not save her. The marriage annexed her. The ceremony was the institutional acknowledgement that the 21-year-old had, in fact, impregnated the 16-year-old, and that, rather than name that as what it was...
Like, I was, like, sobbing, like, 4 times a day to him of, like, I'm just so over this.
4 kids by age 23. Beckham, Hayden, Tommy, and the 4th born in late 2024, whose name Mikayla has not publicly released. 4 kids with Jace across 7 years. Which is, for the body of a Mormon woman raised in Utah, the statistical equivalent of no recovery window between pregnancies. She has not, since 16, had a 12-month period in which she was not either pregnant, lactating, or recovering from birth.
Like I would wake up and my eyes were like almost swollen shut and I had like eczema, like I would get eczema on my neck.
Chronic illness. Season 4 includes an arc about Mikayla's severe eczema, which, per her own on-camera description, erupted after her 4th delivery. The franchise frames this as her health journey. Her dermatologist, if the franchise had bothered to ask one, would have told you that chronic severe eczema post-delivery in a woman with 4 pregnancies in 7 years is a flag for systemic immune exhaustion. The show did not ask a dermatologist. The show showed Mikayla's raw, cracked, bleeding arms, scored a piano track, and moved to the next scene. Here is the pivot.
And at this point, I barely knew Jace.
Season 4 separation. Mid-season, Mikayla and Jace announced they are separating. Mikayla films confessionals in which she says, for the first time, that she got married too young. She does not blame Jace. Jace, in his confessionals, does not blame her. They describe the separation as mutual. They do not, on camera, describe it as inevitable. That is the producer's note. The show cannot afford to let the separation be framed as a consequence of the teenage marriage, because the teenage marriage is the show's foundation.
Was like the anger in the home, was that before, like when your parents were still together, or was that once they divorced?
Too young. Those are Mikayla's words. She says them in a late season 4 confessional. She is 23. She is describing being 16. She is describing sleeping with Jace at 16. She is describing a pregnancy she did not, at 16, have the capacity to decline. She does not use the word consent. She uses the word young, which is the only word the producer would have let her use. Because the other word, the adult word, the word that would have changed the franchise's Disney liability insurance bracket, is not in her vocabulary. Yet.
Like even I grew up Mormon in California, and 2 was like an average number, even in the Mormon church, where usually people that are Mormon have more kids.
Yeah.
The Mormon frame. Because Mormonism's doctrinal position on teenage marriage has, historically, been flexible in practice and strict in rhetoric. Utah's statutory age of consent is 16 with parental consent, which, for a 16-year-old Mormon girl whose mother is a church leader, is not a legal barrier. It is a procedural courtesy. Jace and Mikayla did not break a law. Jace and Mikayla used a law. The law that Utah, as a state, keeps on the books because removing it would provoke a confrontation with the LDS Church that nobody in Utah politics currently has the appetite for.
Like Mormon culture. Like you don't talk about sex.
Consent. The word Mikayla cannot yet use in her own story. The word the show cannot use. The word her mother, when it eventually enters Mikayla's vocabulary, will hear and either accept or reject. Consent, in the Mormon wife narrative, is the third rail. The whole franchise runs on the premise that the women entered their marriages freely. The moment any cast member names their own marriage as not fully consented, not because the husband was abusive, but because the conditions of the yes were not adult, the entire genre collapses. Mikayla is the closest any cast member has gotten to saying that. She has not said it yet. Season 5 is when she might.
When your parents got divorced, happy about it?
Divorce. Post-separation. Mikayla has not filed. Jace has not filed. The split is, as of April 2026, a separation in practice, not a divorce in paperwork, which is a strategic holding pattern. Under Utah Mormon divorce practice, filing accelerates the custody question. 4 kids, 1 income, 1 house, 1 Hulu storyline. Mikayla, by not filing, is buying herself time to negotiate. Jace, by not filing, is avoiding the appearance of having left. Both of them are, quietly, letting Hulu's Season 5 production schedule dictate the pace of the divorce.
Yeah, I think I've just come to terms with healing myself and my family. And
The kids, 4, all of them in Utah, all of them in Mormon primary, all of them with access, eventually, to the footage. Beckham will be the one who reads the disclosure first, at 10 or 11, in a school library. On a Chromebook the school issued him, searching his mother's name, he will find the Season 2 abuse disclosure clip. He will find the Season 4 separation confessional. He will find his father's version. He will, without anyone intending it, assemble a documentary about his own parents' courtship at the age his mother was when she conceived him. That is the archive he inherits.
so I guess it was kind of nice that they got me out of season 1 a lot, because I was like, honestly, thank God.
Second pivot. Mikayla is, of the SLO Moth cast, one of the original Mom Talk TikTokers. Pre-Hulu, she was on TikTok at 16, pregnant, with a ring on her finger, which means her entire courtship with Jace was, from the beginning, a content product. The Hulu show did not create the Mikayla and Jace plotline. Hulu optioned a pre-existing plotline. A plotline that had already run through 2 TikTok subcultures, 3 pregnancies, and a 14-month social media mythology of 16-year-old Mormon mom in love. Hulu cached the mythology. Mikayla, now, is working to dismantle it in real time, on the same platform, in a slower register.
Like, even I grew up Mormon in California, and 2 was like an average number, even in the Mormon church, where usually people that are Mormon have more kids.
Yeah.
The LDS Church's position on Mikayla, officially unchanged. She is still a member. Her marriage was performed in a Utah temple. Her kids are being raised Mormon. Her separation from Jace is not, by canon law, grounds for church discipline, not unless there is adultery, and nobody has alleged adultery. The church, institutionally, will keep her. The church, institutionally, will also ignore every on-camera disclosure she has made since season 1, because the church's bureaucracy, unlike the Hulu bureaucracy, does not watch reality television. The bishop cannot intervene in a Hulu confession.
So I guess it was kind of nice that they got me out of season 1 a lot, because I was like, honestly, thank God.
Walk back. Because the walk back is critical. Mikayla is a real person. Mikayla has made specific public choices about what to disclose and what to keep. Mikayla has, by every available signal, a genuinely loving relationship with her 4 children. Mikayla's account of her own childhood is her own. This episode is not here to second-guess any of it. The second-guessing is directed at the system that handed her a husband at 16, filmed the consequences at 20, and is now, at 23, preparing to film the divorce with the same camera it used to film the wedding. She did not write that system. She was handed it. She is, slowly, handing it back, in confessionals, in interviews, on the Hulu editing floor, where every line about young love that worked has to be carefully weighed against the season 4 footage of her crying about being too young.
Especially when, I mean, we have like 3 kids now.
The ramp. Here is where Mikayla Matthews lands as of the second week of April, 2026. 23 years old, 4 kids, legally separated from Jace Terry, still Mormon, still filming season 5, still undiagnosed officially, with the post-pregnancy immune exhaustion her eczema is probably a signal of. Still, in her own words, figuring out what she thinks about a marriage that started at 17. Still raising Beckham, Hayden, Tommy.
I would always like cry by myself because that was like where I felt safe.
The kicker. The reason this episode ends softly. The audience of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is primarily women between 25 and 40. That audience, statistically, contains many thousand women who, in their own teenage years, had a Jace, had a version of the same story, had a mother who was a church leader, had a 21-year-old who picked them out at 16, had a pregnancy, had a marriage, had 4 kids, had, by 23, the same separation. Mikayla is not an outlier. Mikayla is the median case for a specific slice of Utah Mormonism, presented on cable with a soundtrack. The show wants to sell her as the sweet teen mom who made it work. The show does not get to, because every viewer who recognizes her timeline from her own life is quietly refusing the frame in real time. That refusal, not the Hulu edit, is the show's real legacy. And Mikayla, who did not write the refusal, is now being paid to perform it, which is, for the first time in Mormon wife reality television, a fair trade. If you made it this far, you either love me or you're looking for something to yell about in the comments. Either way, like, subscribe, and tell your sister.